What's up and welcome to Me, You, and Switch 2. I am me, Tom Tates, and you are you. So let's talk about Switch 2. This is the latest and greatest Nintendo Switch 2 news brought to you every Tuesday and Friday in snackable 5 to 10 minute episodes. Today happens to be Tuesday. It is April 14th. It is 7:52 a.m. on the East Coast. This is episode 91. I hope you enjoyed your weekend. I went on a little adventure, so I actually left the house. I left the basement. I'm recording this episode from a hotel room. I'm traveling a bit for work this week. The audio quality might be different. I have like a little lapel mic that I'm using, so I'm not in, my basement setup where I have a nice microphone and dual screen monitors and all that stuff. So hopefully this will be better than episode 13 and 14. If you've been with us long enough to remember that, I recorded in a little bathroom in a beach house using cheap $9 headphones, and I was listening back to it and it sounds awful. So hopefully this is a little bit better and this episode turns out okay. I got to give a quick shout out before we begin to Apple Podcasts user Churro VRX. He gave a 5-star review. He said, favorite podcast. I listen to the latest and greatest Nintendo Switch 2 news in bed every Tuesday and Friday, and it just is great. This is my favorite podcast. 5 stars. Thank you so much, Churro VX. I don't know if you're listening in bed in the morning or the evening or midday, what have you, but I'm glad that I made it into your Tuesday and Friday ritual, and I'm glad you're enjoying the format of the show. Appreciate the review. If anyone leaves a review, I'll be happy to read it on the next episode. Okay, so because I'm away, I'm going to keep this episode super focused on just Pragmata Reviews. If you've read the title of this episode, you know that that's what it's going to be. Pragmata is a new IP from Capcom. It's releasing on April 17th. So that is this Thursday. It'll be $59.99. It's a third-person shooter, technically. Here's the official description from the Nintendo website. An all-new science fiction action-adventure with its own unique hacking twist. Pragmata, an original IP from Capcom. It is the near future, and protagonists Hugh and his android companion Diana must work together as they make their way through the cold lunar research station. So this is also coming out on PlayStation 5, Windows, and Xbox Series X and S. It was developed using Capcom's RE engine, which they use for a ton of games now. I don't want to say all games, but they use it for almost everything. It was debuted way back in 2020 at PS5's Future of Gaming event, and I think the game has changed quite a bit since that early debut. I was actually having trouble going back and finding it. I think they scrubbed a bit of that content off the web. Okay, so I read about 7 or 8 reviews of this game, and I'll link to a bunch of them in the show notes. There's a demo for this, too, on the Nintendo eShop, but I'll admit I didn't play it. I kind of wanted to wait and go in blind for this game, so I didn't get into the demo, but I heard it's pretty good. The big differentiator here is the combat system. So from what I've read, Hugh has standard third-person shooter combat mechanics, but it's combined with a hacking game component that Diana has that can weaken enemies. So let's take a look at the general consensus here based on the reviews that I read. And I'll give you the bottom line up front. They're all pretty good. So this game seems to be reviewing really well, which spells like another popular hit for Capcom just this year. So starting off, we have Nintendo World Report's review. This was written by Willem Hilhorst. 9 out of 10. He wrote, having now finished the full game on Nintendo Switch 2, Pragmata is a delightful surprise that I enjoyed from beginning to end. While its story will not blow your socks off, the core gameplay is satisfying and keeps you on the edge of your seat. It is Capcom embracing the return to the experimental era of the GameCube and Xbox 360, but keeping its focus on singular mechanics. In short, Pragmata is excellent. Now, he wrote about the hacking mechanics. He wrote about the gameplay. You control Hugh and Diana separately, and here's a quick quote. He said, "We've gotten so used to straightforward third-person shooters, but Pragmata tickles my enjoyment of puzzle games just enough for me to never feel like I'm playing on autopilot." He described playing on Switch 2 as pleasant enough, and he did mention some frame drops and some lower resolution throughout the game. His pros, fantastic gameplay that combines fast-paced puzzle and shooter mechanics, lots of variety in enemies and environments, and phenomenal set pieces and boss battles. His cons, graphics forego fidelity for performance on Switch 2, while the characters are great and the story is a bit underwhelming. Okay, Pragmata's Nintendo Switch 2 review from Nintendo Insider. This was written by Sean Musgrave, and Sean wrote, Pragmata is, on the whole, a truly compelling experience once it gets its claws into you. Whether it's the story pulling you along, the prospects of your next upgrade hanging just out of reach, or simply a desire to see what wonders await you next in this bizarre research station, the game is extremely hard to put down. Polygon's Austin Manchester titled his review, Pragmata shoots for the moon and sticks the landing. The subtitle is Capcom's shooter is the second greatest lunar achievement of 2026. Obviously referring to the real world lunar orbits that recently just happened. I kind of breezed through this review because he was revealing a lot of story stuff that I didn't want to fully get into, but he wrote, Pragmata's hacking-infused gameplay is unlike anything I've played before and makes the entire adventure worth checking out. So he did praise the gameplay. IGN's Michael Hyam reviewed this on PS5, not Switch 2, and he wrote, Capcom's sci-fi hack-and-shoot debut is just good, chunky fun. He also said, I mean this in the best possible way. Pragmata feels like a game straight from the Xbox 360 era. It's the kind of third-person action shooter that hangs its hat on a specific gimmick, but then plays everything else fairly straightforward. Okay, so here's another reference, right? Another reference to the Xbox 360 era. We already saw the GameCube and Xbox 360 era of gaming being referenced. I remember that time in gaming so fondly, especially the 360. So I'm really into this. I played so many great games on that system. I also read that this game is likely around the 12-hour mark, anywhere between 10 to 15 hours, depending upon how much you want to put into it. And that also feels like a trademark of many Xbox 360 single-player games that I remember playing. You know, you're just in and out in a couple weeks, and I really appreciate that. He gave it an 8 out of 10 overall. And summing things up, he wrote, punchy shooting action and a creative hacking puzzle gameplay mechanic make combat the true highlight of Pragmata. The story may seem like an afterthought, but its sci-fi drama gives enough to see it all the way through and experience this satisfying third-person shooter. Game Informer's Matt Miller also gave it an 8 out of 10. Matt wrote, gamers often complain that big publishers refuse to roll the dice on new properties with unique systems. I give Pragmata big props for doing precisely that and experimenting with something unconventional. The story and structure as a whole feel a bit by the numbers, but the beautiful, futuristic visuals and inventive battle system are solid wins. Matt also mentions that this game has a new Game Plus mode and other things that you can do in addition to the main story. And then finally, Nintendo Life has their review up along with a review roundup, both of which I will link to in the show notes. This one was written by Ken Talbot, reviewing the Switch 2 version, of course. He gave it a 9 out of 10. This is actually a great review if you want to learn the details of the battle mechanics and gameplay mechanics, the various game systems that they have here. There's quite a bit, and Ken does a good job diving deeper into it. I kind of breezed through it. I didn't want to get spoiled too much. I do want to go in blind a bit. But he wrote, with a strong relationship at its core, a striking sci-fi aesthetic, and an addictive puzzle combat loop, Pragmata is the full package. The adventures of Hugh and Diana stand as another excellent Switch 2 port from Capcom and hopefully marks the beginning of a new blockbuster franchise. So the joy is here, excellent hybrid combat system that never gets old. Hugh and Diana are an irresistible pairing, versatile build system, lots of replay value and things to collect, and it runs great on Switch 2. And the cons, some frustrating boss fights, and mouse controls would have been nice. If that doesn't give you a clear view of this game, I don't know, but I will link to, again, that Nintendo Life's review roundup, which has blurbs from Game 8, GameSpot, Push Square, a few others that I didn't cover. There are some like 7 out of 10 reviews that are out there that were a bit more critical. But overall, this game is definitely performing well from a review standpoint. We'll see how gamers actually respond to it later this week. I'm definitely a buy for this. I'm going to play this game. I'm excited for new IP. I love Capcom. I will probably pick it up at some point in the summer. I just hopped back on Final Fantasy Tactics on Switch 2, and I do want to finish that up. I started it a long time ago, and I want to wrap that up before I dive into a different game. And I'm going to play through Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. That's coming out this summer. Just did Remake earlier this year. I'm going to do Rebirth again. Still playing Parasite Eve on PS1, so I got plenty of games to play. Okay, that's it for today. I will be back on Friday. Enjoy the week. You can reach me on Blue Sky at Switch2Pod. Instagram is the same. Don't post much, as I mentioned frequently, but feel free to message me on those platforms if you're trying to get in touch with me. You can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Pocket Casts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to shows. We should be there. Switch2pod.com for all the links and the show notes and all that stuff. A kind rating or review goes a long way. Sharing with a family member, a friend, Discord server, subreddit, all of that goes even further. Word of mouth is really helpful. But if you want to be like Churro VRX and leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and write a quick note, I will definitely share it on the show. Greatly appreciate that. Again, apologize for the audio quality if it's a little different. Hopefully it's okay. If this is your first time listening, just know that it typically is different. I'm also speaking a little bit quieter because I am in a hotel room and I'm trying not to shout. But I want to thank you as always for your time and your attention. Much love. Enjoy the week. Now go play some games.